Okay, this is my project on the Simpsons movie and environmental science. Okay, there we go. Um, Specifically the Simpsons movie because the main plot is full of like weirdly environmental conscious things. So, the plot. In the beginning, uh it, the whole movie leans towards political commentary a lot. And it starts with the band Green Day playing music on a barge near the end. They tried to give a speech about pollution and the environment, only to be met with outrage from the whole town. The pollution in Lake Springfield, only made worse by the crowd tossing more in it by the band, is so bad that it eats through the barge, and the Green Day members die. Um, while this is like a very extreme example, it's kind of reminiscent of ocean acidification, which is what happens when the pH of ocean water lowers because of higher levels of carbon dioxide. There is the fact that Lake Springfield, the nuclear power plant, is also dumping radioactive waste into the water, which may be another reason for the disintegration of the barge. But I thought it really sounded so familiar to acidification. And there's a nice picture of Mr. Burns and Smithers giving the environment some lovely toxic waste. Um, so the Simpsons go to a funeral service for the Green Day band, and Abe Simpson, the grandpa, has a prophecy of danger, and he screams, "A twisted tail, a thousand eyes, and Eepa." It is later revealed that he meant EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, because they play a large part in the movie. The agency is run by Russ Cargill, and after the church scene, Homer watches Krusty the Clown film an ad for a new sandwich, one of the actors being a little pig. The pig is used more as a prop than a real animal, and after filming, Krusty says the pig can be killed now. Homer then just goes ahead and adopts the pig and names him Plopper. Lisa has been like known for being crazy about the environment and really pushing for animal rights and just general safety for the environment. And while Homer is having fun with his new pig, Lisa is out trying to find signatures for cleaning Lake Springfield. She meets a young boy who's also looking for volunteers, and that pushes her to bring the subject to City Hall. She and Colin present An Irritating Truth, which is a parody of Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, which is a famous film all about climate change, that at one point was considered silly. But because the information we have now, we know it's not silly at all, and he just, I don't know, he knew things. Unfortunately, the Springfielders really couldn't care less until Lisa reveals that the water all the townspeople had been drinking in their glasses was from the lake. So why did they not care? They knew it was gross, but they didn't care. Uh, why, you may be asking? The answer is convenience, but more on that later. Um, Mayor Quimbley finally agrees that there will be no more dumping in the lake and declares it will now be a state of emergency. Afterwards, the town cleans up the lake and installs idiot-proof walls to prevent more dumping, so people can't toss in dead possums. Sadly, the impatience, um, specifically from Homer. Marge finds out Homer has been keeping the family's pig waste and his own in a large silo outside that says pig crap. Um, she tells him to get rid of it, and Homer tries to do so responsively. However, while waiting in line at the waste disposal dump, Lenny calls him on his phone and tells him about the free donuts that large lads are giving out, um, because of uh, food hazards and quickly leaves the line and heads to the lake. He ignores all the warning signs, which, may I mention, there's a lot of warning signs, and heads straight over the barrier and dumps the entire silo into the lake. The once clean lake is polluted immediately, and this evil-looking skull pops out of the water, and Homer couldn't care less, and he was so impatient and greedy that he spoils the whole lake and all their hard work to clean it. After dumping the silo, a squirrel is chased into the lake by a raccoon and is heavily mutated, making him have this many eyes, or 1,000 eyes. This happens while Bart and Ned are in the woods bonding, and they encounter the squirrel. The EPA comes to Springfield and quickly captures the mutant squirrel. And after taking the squirrel to Washington, Russ Cargill, the EPA leader, pushes President Schwarzenegger to decide, and he chooses option 3, which means covering the entire town in a giant dome. This is Russ Cargill, and this is the president who has no idea what's going on. The EPA covers Springfield with the dome, and Marge realizes that the prophecy has come true. The twisted tail being the little pig, and EPA being EPA. So that's what happened. And after several attempts to break the dome, Cargill explains to the town that Springfield has become so polluted that they must contain the pollution with the dome. Lisa protests and says that they did clean the lake, but Cargill says that someone did not get the message. At this point, it's not obvious it's Homer, but they find out. Spoilers. The town is trapped and growing restless, and while they try to find the culprit, Marge and Maggie discover that the small sinkhole in their backyard leads to outside the dome. The Springfield police find a silo which says, "Return to Homer Simpson. No reward." Eventually, a huge mob forms outside their house, and while they try to escape, the mob sets fire to the house. So that's life under the dome. Sinkholes. Now, this was one of my main ideas because it's what eventually saves them. But the Simpsons end up escaping through the sinkhole in their backyard and end up outside the dome. But what is the significance of the sinkhole? Although the family survives unscathed, their house and their entire property is swallowed up and destroyed by the sinkhole, which happens quite a bit in real life. And as you can see in this bottom photo, it just happens a lot, and it destroys roads and buildings, like, completely. It's really scary. And according to a Natural Hazards Earth System Science discussion about Florida sinkholes in 2018, quote, altered global rainfall patterns and increasing evaporation because of higher temperatures, climate change, leads to a decrease in groundwater flow, resulting in sinkhole formation, or such decreased flow may lead to intensification of water pumping and related drawdown in urban and industrial areas that leads to groundwater level reduction and related sinkhole development. They also said the addition of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere and global warming increase the dissolution of bedrock, thus increasing the intensity and frequency of sinkhole collapse. So pretty much this means that the sinkhole in the backyard of the Simpsons could have been caused by the heavy amount of pollution and carbon dioxide inside of Springfield, and perhaps it was made worse by being put under a dome so that all the CO2 is getting trapped in there. But that's kind of a theory, but I feel like it's relevant. So the flee to Alaska. Marge and Lisa are very upset with Homer, especially Lisa, because she made the town, clean up the lake in the first place. But he doesn't know how to make it up to them. He suddenly unfolds a map of Alaska and convinces his family that it is where they must go. The family, after winning a truck from a carny, drives all the way up to Alaska, where they set up in the cabin. This, to me, felt very reminiscent of the view on climate change. That's like, well, just find somewhere else to go. uh like well, someone impossible going to another planet, um because they're not thinking about the future. And this idea is very like it's ridiculous, and there's little evidence we could even live on another planet. I mean, there's a reason we live on Earth, because it's supposed to inhabit us. We've adapted very well to the environment. So, unfortunately, we totally screwed the planet up, and instead of spending thousands of hours on research and millions of dollars on trying to get to Mars, we should focus on where we are now and see what, if we can, salvage and pay more attention to what we do now. The government is screwy. The people under the dome grow so restless and finally reach their breaking point because their coffee machine breaks and end up trying to break the dome. Russ Cargill sees this and tells the president that he must decide on what to do with Springfield. Cargill convinces the president to allow the town to be entirely blown up, because he chooses option 3. This scene really solidifies Cargill as the villain and not like the savior of the planet. He's doing so much for the ecosystem. If he truly cared about the environment, he wouldn't allow a huge bomb, which would release a crap ton of CO2 into the atmosphere, and instead tried to find a way of, one, saving the town people from freaking exploding, because they're also part of the environment. I mean, I feel like I forgot to add that into the slides, but people are part of the ecosystem too, whether he likes it or not. And 2, work on undoing the damage already done to the environment. But this is why Russ Cargill sucks. So why doesn't the EPA try to save Springfield? Why doesn't Cargill do anything? Easy. Money and convenience. Famously, the government, fictional or not, focuses a lot on money and how they can save it. Trying to fix the damage in Springfield would require time and money, which the EPA doesn't really want to deal out, or really have in the first place. A lot of the money is going to the military, and yeah. One of the reasons real life officials don't do anything about the environment, despite what the real EPA would say, is because politicians are paid too much to not say anything about it. It's why they don't do anything about the drilling for oil in the ocean and the destruction of African countries for computer chip parts. They're just paid too much money. Well, not at their jobs, but the corporations are giving them money. The return to Springfield. After the family finds out the government is going to blow up Springfield, Marge and the kids leave to go back home, and Homer is first very stubborn, but eventually comes around and travels back by himself after a very interesting interaction with a Inuit shaman. Very spiritual moment for the man. The bomb is said to blow up in 15 minutes, and Homer tries to get rid of the bomb only to have it lose time and fall to the ground at first. So they have like 4 minutes left, and Homer and Bart reconnect, and he uses his motorcycle skills to save the town and throw the bomb out of the dome. The dome shatters from the explosion and inadvertently fills the town with shards of glass. Really saved the environment, huh, Cargill? I mean, if the bomb was even inside the glass, it probably would have shattered and probably would have still ruined the environment more, but whatever. He knows what's best, right? Cargill returns with a shotgun and is out to kill Homer when Maggie steps in and takes care of him. She's violent and great. Conclusions. The movie ends with the town rebuilding the Simpson house and Marge and Homer riding off into the sunset. The scene at the very end even shows the family as if they were watching the movie, breaking the fourth wall when Lisa says she was to wait for it to say no animals were harmed during the making of the movie. Even in the end, there's some environmentally conscious message, which is, of course, from Lisa. And the Simpsons time and time again have tried to make the viewer aware of like pollution and terrible stuff people are doing. Like back to the oil drill, there's an episode where Lisa makes Marge drive all the way out to out to a shoreline so that they can help clean up an oil spill and help clean up little baby seals and stuff. Um, and like no matter how unpopular the opinion may be, like the Lisa the vegetarian episode where she forces the well, she doesn't really force, but she steals a pig because they're gonna eat it. Because she's had like her eyes have been opened to the way that animals are treated. Um, but the movie itself is full of humor and side plots, but the environment is the main pushing idea at the beginning. It's what pushes the dome to be put over the town, and it makes the audience really think about the real world connections the movie is making. Overall, good movie, bad government. Lisa kicks ass.